Hey everyone, today I'm going to be making the salmon poke bowl that is in my cookbook, the Meal Prep Queen's cookbook, found on page 59. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is get our rice cooking. So I have noted on the recipe that I typically use chicken broth, but today we are using beef only because excuse me, it has been hanging out in my fridge for a while. So measuring out 14 ounces of broth here. So I poured that broth into our saucepan. I'm going to put a lid on that on the appropriate sized burner. And I'm going to turn that up on high to get that to a boil. I already have the rice measured out. We need 1 cup of dry brown rice. Once this comes to a boil, then we will add the rice and turn that to a simmer and let it simmer covered until all of that liquid is absorbed. Okay, so to get started on our marinade for the salmon, I'm going to measure out 2 tablespoons, which is 1 ounce of sesame oil. And to that 1 ounce, I need 1 cup of liquid aminos. So I'm using liquid aminos because soy sauce is often contains wheat or gluten, which I cannot have. So I opt for liquid aminos. You can use coconut aminos as an alternative as well. So going up just above that 1 cup line here. To smash some garlic. We want to chop some of this garlic up. Find and peel our pieces. I will admit, it is not the healthiest looking garlic. These stems I'm just going to pull off. And I'm just going to run my knife through it really carefully, watching those fingertips. Get it into slices first, and then you can come back through and mince it up some more. It does not have to be perfect. We just want to get that opened up to release some of the flavor. And place that into our measuring cup here. Okay, for the ginger, I'm going to take a little knob like this and my peeler, peel that skin off first. And now I can take my knife and I'm going to just do really thin slices. I do not measure this. I really enjoy fresh ginger. If you find the ginger paste or already minced ginger, you will want to measure it because that stuff is going to be concentrated and really potent. Not that this is not potent, but the paste and the already minced stuff is going to be more so. And then with these slices, I'm just going to run through real quick just to get a little bit smaller pieces, but it's not going to be fully minced to our measuring cup. And this marinade, we're just going to use a fork to give it a little bit of a stir and make sure everything's well combined. Over here we have our broth is boiling away. So we are going to add our rice and a pinch of salt, sea salt. Get a spoon here, quick little stir. Put that lid back on and reduce that heat all the way to low and let that hang out. Usually takes roughly 20 to 30 minutes. Now, time saver here. So in the recipe, I have written 1.5 pounds of salmon, and to go ahead and cut that salmon into 6 portions. There are time savers in your frozen section, already portioned out pieces of salmon. These are roughly 4 ounces. So saving some effort, saving some time, go ahead and just open those up and dump them into a large bowl so that we can marinate them. Okay, so you may want to drain out that liquid. I'm not going to. I'm just going to utilize it to my advantage. Take this marinade, whisk it up really good, and pour that over the salmon. Salmon does not take long to marinate, so really it can sit for 5 minutes. If you get busy with other things and it sits in the fridge for 2 hours, that's okay too. But let that hang out and gather up all those flavors. Okay, so now we're going to cook the salmon fillets. So I have my pan greased. It is heated on low to medium. And I'm just going to use my tongs to pull these fillets out, shake off some of the excess marinade, and I'm placing them skin down into the pan. While the salmon is cooking, we can go ahead and cut our bell pepper. So again, running through those sides, taking off the bottom. And then I just want some bell pepper strips, but I don't want them too thick. So I'm going to line up my knife and cut some nice thin strips here. You can chop them up. So if you want to chop them up instead of having strips, you would just turn them on the side and go this way. But I'm going to leave them as nice long thin strips. Back here with the fillets, we're going to go ahead and flip them. They've been cooking for a couple minutes on this side. You can hear them sizzling. And we'll let them go for another 2 to 3 minutes on this side as well. Okay, these salmon pieces are ready to come out. So I'm going to carefully lift and place them in my containers. And then I have a couple more to cook off, and I will add those to the pan. I want to saute my bell peppers. You can leave them raw, just like the cucumbers are raw. I prefer my bell peppers sauteed, so that choice is up to you. So what I'm going to do is throw the fish in here and the bell pepper pieces. Okay, we're going to come back to the rice here. So it's fully cooked and I had it cool. So we're going to toss this into a bowl. Try to get all of that out. Set your pot aside. We are using a bag of riced cauliflower. I am using the garlic and herb. You can use plain if you would prefer that. And we're just going to dump this in. This is just to give some more volume and also to give a serving of vegetables, actually probably a partial serving of vegetables to your salmon poke bowl. So once you toss that in, go ahead and give it a good stir. It's okay if your cauliflower rice is still partially frozen. You're going to break that all up. And now this can be divided into your meal prep containers. the cucumbers, I'm actually not going to cut all of them because they don't tend to stay fresh as long as if you leave them whole. So you can either pack them like this with a paring knife and cut them when you go to eat your lunch, or the morning of before you pack your bag for work, or before you sit down to eat dinner. You can just quickly slice this up. It's super easy. I like to cut it on a bias. You don't have to. You can just cut it perpendicular to the cucumber. I just go on a slight angle and slice it nice and thin. There's no real rhyme or reason. I just like the look of the ovals versus the circles. And then you can get rid of the stem end if you want to, and leave it at that. If you have the larger ones, you might want to seed them or peel them because the skin can be a little bit tougher. Okay, let's talk about the avocado. So these can be a little bit tricky, not only to pick the ripe ones, but also to cut them safely. So what I look for when I'm shopping for an avocado is the skin color. You can see this is a nice, evenly dark color all the way around. Also, when I touch it, there's just a little bit of give. It is very, very firm, but there's just a little bit of give to it. So that lets me know that this should be perfectly ripe. Today I'm going to use my paring knife to cut this open carefully in my hand. If you are not comfortable with knives, do this on your cutting board. So I'm taking it all the way around. So I started at the stem end, placing my knife in there, and I just turned the avocado on the knife, right? So my knife doesn't move. It's the avocado that I'm rotating around the blade. Now it's cut all the way around. I can go ahead and carefully twist, and we have the avocado halves. So you can see how nice and green that is. I recommend only cutting open what you are going to use within a day, because they do oxidize very quickly. What that means is they will turn brown and yucky looking. Doesn't mean they're bad. They do start to get mushy a lot faster than if you leave them whole and in the fridge. If they are not yet ripe, leave them on the counter or put them in a paper bag until they are ready to go, or just about ready to go. Sometimes it's better to get them in the fridge just a little bit before they are perfect. Now the pit, I'm going to use my paring knife for this one as well. I'm going to set this down. If it's in my hand and I use a big knife, I am likely to go all the way through that avocado very easily. Okay, so let me tilt this. So you can see I am taking my blade. I know where my pit is. I am going to go right into there. Make sure my knife blade is in pretty good. All right, and I'm going to give that pit a twist. Now, all I do to get that pit off of there, my thumb is on the back side of that pit away from the blade. I'm going to push that off, just like that. So now what I can do is I can take my paring knife and just run very carefully slices. I recommend doing this on the board, not in your hand, but run some slices along here. Let me tilt this again. So slice it just till you hit the skin of the avocado, not yours, right? And then we're gonna grab a spoon and taking the spoon right into the edge between the skin and the meat of the avocado, we're gonna run it all the way along here and pull all of that out. See how that comes up nicely? Look at that. So that is how you can easily slice your avocado and get it out of the shell. I'm going to use half of an avocado to one of my salmon poke bowls. Okay, some other optional toppings for your salmon poke bowl could be some fresh chopped cilantro. I have some pickled red onions working here. We're going to do a sprinkle of some sesame seeds right over the top. And I also have some chopped pickled ginger that I'm going to put on top of each one. Those are all optional for you guys. You can add more vegetables if you would like to, whatever you like, whatever hits your taste buds. Enjoy.